The text came at 5:12 in the morning. Don't come back to Chicago. They know you found out. No name, no profile photo, just those 9 words sitting on my screen while rain slammed against the apartment window hard enough to sound like rocks. I read it 3 times, then a 4th, and something inside my chest dropped so fast it felt like an elevator cable snapping. Outside, the city was waking up. Sirens somewhere downtown, a garbage truck grinding down the alley, somebody yelling over a car horn. Regular life. But my life? My life had just split in half. Again. My name is Ava Monroe. I'm 31 years old, and if you stay with me until the end of this story, you'll understand why I haven't celebrated my birthday in 6 years, why I still double-check every lock before I sleep, and why the people who are supposed to love you the most can sometimes become the very thing you survive. Before I tell you everything, tell me where you're watching from and what time it is there right now. I read comments late at night when I can't sleep. And trust me, I don't sleep much anymore. This whole thing started in Baltimore when I was 9 years old. Not with violence, not with screaming. That's the crazy part. The worst betrayals almost never start loud. They start quiet, like a door clicking shut, like somebody forgetting to hug you back. Like realizing your mother only smiles at you when other people are watching. My mother, Denise Monroe, cared deeply about appearances. Church dresses, perfect lawns, Christmas cards with matching sweaters. She loved anything that made strangers think we were a good family. Reality, though? Reality lived behind closed doors, and behind those doors, my mother treated love like rent. You earned it or you lost it. My older brother, Travis, figured that out early. He became exactly what she wanted. Football captain, loud laugh, straight teeth, yes ma'am, no ma'am. Me? I read books too much, asked too many questions, cried when people lied. My mother hated that. Sensitive people don't survive, she used to say while smoking on the back porch. I was 9 the first time she locked me outside. Snowstorm. I still remember the cold chewing through my socks while I stood on the porch knocking softly because I knew if I knocked too hard, she'd get angrier. I could see her silhouette in the kitchen. She knew I was out there. She just didn't care. 20 minutes later, my grandfather arrived, Frank Monroe. Tall, gray beard, smelled like coffee and sawdust. He walked straight past me into the house, and I heard him yell louder than I'd ever heard before. Then he came back outside, wrapped his coat around me, and said the sentence that saved my life before I even understood it. "You're not hard to love, kiddo. They're just bad at loving." I carried those words for 20 years, like a flashlight, like oxygen, like proof I wasn't crazy. After that night, Grandpa Frank became my safe place. Every Friday, he'd pick me up in his old Ford truck and take me to his cabin outside Frederick. Tiny place, crooked porch, wood stove. The kind of silence that actually feels peaceful instead of lonely. He taught me how to fish, how to change a tire, how to tell when somebody's lying by watching what their eyes do after they finish talking. Most folks think lying happens during the sentence. It happens right after, he told me once while carving wood on the porch. I didn't understand then how much he was trying to prepare me. Not for the world, for my family. By 16, I basically lived at Grandpa's place. My mother barely noticed. Travis noticed, though, and he hated it. "You think you're special," he told me one Thanksgiving after too much beer. "Grandpa treats you like you matter." I looked at him across the kitchen table. "You matter too." He laughed. Nah. That laugh stayed with me, because it didn't sound angry, it sounded jealous. That's way more dangerous. The last normal day of my life happened in October. I was 25, working as a junior architect in Chicago. Tiny apartment, terrible coffee maker, student loans hanging around my neck like bricks. But I was happy. Not movie happy, real happy. The kind you buy cheap wine after work and dance in your kitchen because nobody can yell at you anymore. Then Grandpa called. "Ava," he said quietly, "if anything ever happens to me, don't trust your mother with paperwork." I laughed because I thought he was joking. He didn't laugh back. 3 weeks later, he died. Heart attack. Quick. No warning. I flew home for the funeral wearing a black coat I couldn't afford and a grief so heavy I felt physically bent under it. My mother cried beautifully. That's the only way I can describe it. Beautifully. Perfect tears, perfect trembling voice, perfect grieving widow energy, even though she was his daughter. People hugged her all day, told her how strong she was, how brave. Meanwhile, I stood near the back of the church, feeling like I was watching a performance everyone believed. Travis barely spoke to me, but during the burial, he leaned close enough for me to smell whiskey on his breath. "You should have stayed in Chicago," he whispered. Then he smiled for family photos. That night, after the funeral dinner ended, a woman approached me in the parking lot. Late 50s, sharp navy coat, silver glasses. "Miss Monroe?" "Yes." "My name is Eleanor Price. I handled legal affairs for your grandfather." She handed me a sealed envelope. "He wanted you to have this if anything unexpected happened." I stared at it. Unexpected like what? Her eyes shifted towards the church windows where my mother was laughing with relatives. "Like this." Then she walked away. I didn't open the envelope. Not then. Biggest mistake of my life. I went back to Chicago 2 days later, trying to return to normal, but normal had already left. First came the weird calls, unknown numbers hanging up after I answered. Then emails from lenders saying I'd applied for loans I never requested. Then my apartment manager asking why someone called pretending to be my sister asking about my lease. I didn't have a sister. One night I came home and my front door was slightly open. Nothing stolen, nothing moved, except one thing. A framed photo of me and Grandpa Frank had been turned face down. That's when fear stopped feeling dramatic and started feeling real. I called my mother. She answered on the second ring. "Well," she sighed, "look who finally remembers she has family." "Did someone come to my apartment?" "What?" "Mom." Long pause. Then that little laugh she used when she was about to gaslight somebody. "You always were paranoid." Click. She hung up. 2 days later, I finally opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten note from Grandpa. "Ava, if you're reading this, it means I ran out of time before I could explain everything properly. Your mother knows about the inheritance. Do not sign anything she gives you. Do not trust Travis near money. And whatever happens next, remember this clearly. I chose you because you stayed kind. That matters more than blood." There was also a key, small brass key, and an address in Maryland I didn't recognize. That same night, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "They already emptied one account. Don't let them get the rest." I froze. Then another message. "Check the storage unit before your brother does." I didn't sleep. I drove 12 hours straight the next morning. Rain the whole way, the kind that smears headlights into ghost trails. The storage facility sat outside Baltimore between a pawn shop and an abandoned diner. Unit 214. The brass key fit. Inside was a single metal filing cabinet, locked. Second key taped underneath the drawer. My grandfather always loved dramatic timing. Inside the cabinet, folders, bank records, property deeds, audio tapes, and one thick red file labeled, "If They Turn on Her." My hands started shaking so badly I almost dropped it. Inside were years of records, proof my mother had stolen money from Grandpa for over a decade, proof Travis forged signatures, proof they'd tried multiple times to challenge Grandpa's mental competency before he died. Then I found the audio recorder, small black device, one recording, dated 8 days before Grandpa died. I pressed play. His voice came through weak but steady. "If you're hearing this, Ava, they finally made their move." I stopped breathing. "Your mother owes dangerous people money. Travis does too. They think the property deed and trust accounts transferred to Denise after my death." Paper rustled. "They don't know everything was moved into your name 2 years ago." My stomach twisted. Then came the sentence that changed everything. "And if they discover you know the truth, they will panic." I listened to the rest sitting on the cold concrete floor. By the end, I understood 3 things. My family was drowning in debt. Grandpa had secretly protected me for years. And I was standing in the middle of something way bigger than inheritance. Something criminal. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. "They know you went to the storage unit." Then another message. "Leave now." I stepped outside and saw Travis leaning at my car. Travis was smoking like he didn't have a care in the world. That's the thing about dangerous people. The really dangerous ones rarely look dangerous. They look relaxed, comfortable, like they already know how the story ends. Rain dripped from the hood of my car while he stared at me through cigarette smoke with the same half-smile he'd worn at Grandpa's funeral. "Ava," he said casually, "you really gotta stop snooping around." My pulse started hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. "How did you find me?" He shrugged. "You always did underestimate family." Then his eyes slid toward the storage unit behind me. "You find anything interesting in there?" I said nothing. And right there, I remembered something Grandpa once told me while teaching me poker at the cabin. The first person who talks loses. So I stayed quiet. Travis flicked ash onto the wet pavement. "You know Mom's worried about you." I almost laughed. That concern doesn't really hit the same after identity fraud. His jaw tightened for half a second. There it was, that tiny crack. Then he smiled again. "You always make things dramatic." I crossed my arms against the cold. "You forged loan applications in my name. No proof. Grandpa kept proof of everything." The smile disappeared. Not fully, just enough. And suddenly I saw it. Fear. Tiny. Quick, but real. He stepped closer. "Ava, listen to me carefully." That voice. Low. Controlled. The voice people use when they're trying not to explode. "Some people are involved now that you don't want to mess with." Rainwater slid down his leather jacket while headlights passed behind him out on the highway. "You should hand over whatever Grandpa gave you." "Why?" "Because this isn't a movie," he snapped suddenly. "You don't understand how bad this is." For 1 second, the mask dropped completely. He looked exhausted, cornered, terrified. Then it vanished again. "You got until tomorrow," he said quietly. "Then what?" His eyes met mine, and I swear to God, for the first time in my life, my brother looked at me like a stranger. "Then people stop asking nicely." He walked away, black SUV waiting near the curb, tinted windows, engine running. The second he got inside, it pulled out fast and disappeared into the rain. I stood there frozen. Then survival kicked in. I drove. No destination, just distance. My hands shook on the steering wheel the whole time. At some point, I pulled into a motel outside Harrisburg because I physically couldn't drive anymore. The room smelled like bleach and old cigarettes. I shoved a chair under the doorknob anyway. Then I spread Grandpa's files across the bed. And that's when I found her name, Marlene Voss, repeated over and over in payment records, cash transfers, wire receipts, phone logs. I Googled her. Wish I hadn't. Federal investigation, money laundering, illegal gambling operations, 3 dead associates in 6 years, no convictions, no witnesses willing to testify. My mother owed money to people connected to her, a lot of money. Suddenly, everything made horrible sense. The forged loans, the panic, the inheritance obsession. I wasn't family anymore. I was an exit strategy. At 2:14 a.m., somebody knocked on my motel door. 3 soft taps. I stopped breathing. Another 3 taps. Then silence. I grabbed the lamp beside the bed because apparently my survival instincts are powered by bad horror movies. A woman's voice came through the door. "Ava?" I froze. "I'm alone," she said quickly. "Eleanor Price sent me." Eleanor Price, the attorney. I cracked the door 2 inches. A woman in her 40s, dark curls soaked from rain, no makeup, nervous eyes. She held up her phone. On the screen was a text from Eleanor. "Trust her." I opened the door halfway. "Who are you?" "Nicole Bennett," she said. "I worked for your grandfather."
We're Tao. She stepped inside fast and locked the door behind her. "Your brother followed me from Baltimore." Cold flooded my stomach. Nicole looked exhausted, like somebody who hadn't slept properly in months. She pointed at the files spread across the bed. "So you found out." "Found out what, exactly?" She stared at me for a second, then sat slowly in the chair near the window. "Your grandfather spent the last 3 years trying to protect you from your own family." I sat across from her, gripping the lamp so hard my wrist hurt. "Start talking." And she did. Apparently, Grandpa discovered Travis had gambling debts years earlier. Not sports betting, underground money, real money, the kind tied to organized crime and private debt collectors. At first, Grandpa paid them quietly to protect Travis. Then my mother got involved. Then things spiraled. "They thought your grandfather was worth millions," Nicole said softly. "He wasn't?" "He was comfortable, but not rich. She rubbed her temples. "The problem is Travis promised people money that didn't exist yet. Inheritance money. My inheritance." I suddenly remembered every weird conversation after Grandpa died, every question about accounts, every push to sign paperwork. Oh my God. They were planning to transfer everything through me. Nicole nodded. "Your grandfather figured it out before they could. That's why he changed the trust. That's why he hid records. That's why he prepared evidence. He knew his own daughter and grandson might eventually come after me." The sentence sat in my chest like broken glass. Nicole leaned forward. "There's more." Of course there was. "There's a property deed your grandfather hid separately." "What property?" "Cabin in Frederick County." My heart stopped. The cabin. My mother knows about it? She suspects. And Travis? He's desperate enough to tear walls apart looking. Nicole handed me a folded paper. Bank access records. Recent attempts. Someone had already tried accessing the property safe twice after Grandpa died. Failed both times. I looked up slowly. "What's in the safe?" Nicole's eyes locked onto mine. Evidence strong enough to bury everyone involved. Silence. Rain hitting the motel roof. Neon sign buzzing outside. And suddenly, my entire life no longer felt real. "Ava," Nicole whispered carefully, "you need to disappear for a while." "No, you don't understand these people." "No," I said again, louder this time. "I spent my whole life running emotionally from these people. I'm done running physically too." Nicole looked at me strangely after that, like she was seeing someone she didn't expect. Then my phone rang. Mom. I stared at the screen. Nicole shook her head immediately. "Don't answer." But I did. "Hello?" Silence at first. Then breathing. Then my mother's voice. Sweet, soft, the fake version. "Oh, honey, where are you?" I almost threw the phone. "You forged documents in my name." Ava! "You stole from Grandpa." "That's not what happened. You let Travis threaten me." Her breathing changed. There it was, the shift from performance to irritation. "You have no idea what I sacrificed for this family." I laughed, actually laughed, because some part of me finally snapped. "You threw me away years ago." "No," she hissed suddenly. "I raised you." Raised me? Like survival was the same thing as love. Then she lowered her voice. "Listen carefully. Travis is trying to help you. By threatening me? You don't understand the people involved." Interesting. Same phrase Travis used. Not, "you don't understand him," "you don't understand them." Fear leaked through both of them now. Real fear. I stood slowly. "What happens if I don't give you what you want?" Silence. Then the coldest sentence my mother ever said to me. "Sometimes family gets caught in unfortunate situations." Click. Call ended. Nicole looked pale. "She's scared." "Good." "No," Nicole whispered. "You don't get it. Denise Monroe only gets dangerous when she's scared." That night, I didn't sleep. Around 5 a.m., Nicole finally spoke from the chair near the window. "There's something else your grandfather told me before he died." I looked over. "He said one day you'd stop asking why your family didn't love you enough, and start asking why you kept believing you had to earn it." That one hurt. Not sharp. Deep. Like somebody reaching inside your ribs. Morning came gray and ugly. We drove to Frederick in silence. The cabin sat exactly how I remembered. Crooked porch, wind chimes, pine trees surrounding everything. But it didn't feel safe anymore. It felt watched. Inside smelled like cedar and old coffee. My chest tightened immediately. Every memory hit at once. Grandpa teaching me chess, burnt pancakes on Sundays, old jazz records. The one place in my childhood where I could breathe normally. Nicole walked straight toward the stone fireplace. "Your grandfather rebuilt this himself," she said quietly. Then she reached underneath the mantel and pressed something hidden. Click. A section of the wall opened. I stared. "What the hell?" "Your grandfather was paranoid." "No," I whispered. He was right. Inside the hidden compartment sat a steel lockbox. Nicole handed me a small key from her pocket. "He left this with Eleanor." I unlocked it slowly. Inside were documents, cash, USB drives, and one sealed letter with my name written across the front. My hands shook opening it. "Ava, if you found this, things are worse than I hoped. I'm sorry. I tried to hold this family together longer than I should have. That was my mistake. People confuse saving someone with preventing consequences. I did that with your mother. And then Travis. Don't repeat my failure. Love people, but let them face what they choose." Below the letter sat one final document. property transfer confirmation. The cabin, already belonged to me, had for 3 years, hidden, protected, safe from my mother. Tears blurred my vision. Even dead, Grandpa was still building walls around me. Then, outside, car tires. Nicole stood instantly, her face drained of color. We need to go. SUV doors slammed outside. More than one. My stomach dropped. Nicole peeked through the curtain. Oh, God. What? She turned toward me. There's 4 of them. Then someone knocked. Slow. Heavy. Not polite.
The knock came again. Slow. Heavy. Like whoever stood outside already knew the door would eventually open. Nicole grabbed my wrist hard enough to hurt. Back door, now. My body moved before my brain did. Adrenaline is weird like that. 1 second you're frozen, next second you're sprinting through somebody else's nightmare. We ran through the kitchen while another knock shook the front door harder this time. Then a man's voice. "Ms. Monroe, we just want to talk." Yeah, nobody good ever says it like that. Nicole shoved open the back door and freezing air hit us like a slap. Pine trees, mud, rain starting again. We ran downhill behind the cabin while voices exploded inside the house. The front door had opened, or been opened. Branches whipped against my face while we crashed through the woods. Behind us, somebody yelled, "She's running!" No kidding. I almost slipped near the creek, but Nicole caught my arm before I went down. "You got your phone?" "Yes." "Turn it off." I did instantly, because suddenly this wasn't paranoia anymore. This was a hunt. We reached an old ranger road maybe 10 minutes later, both of us gasping. Nicole bent over trying to breathe. Then headlights appeared through the trees. My heart stopped. But it was Eleanor. Her silver sedan slid sideways on the wet dirt road while she leaned across the passenger seat screaming, "Get in!" We did. The second the doors slammed, she punched the gas. Behind us, 2 SUVs burst out near the cabin road. Black, fast, close. "Oh my God," I whispered. Eleanor's jaw tightened. Seatbelt. The chase lasted maybe 7 minutes. Felt like 7 years. Mud flying everywhere, trees blurring past, SUVs gaining. Then suddenly, Eleanor cut hard left onto a narrow service road barely visible through the woods. The SUVs overshot the turn. For 3 beautiful seconds, they disappeared. Eleanor kept driving another mile before stopping near an abandoned campground. Nobody spoke. All we could hear was rain ticking against the windshield and our breathing trying to slow down. Finally, I looked at Eleanor. What the hell is happening? She turned toward me carefully. "The people Travis owes money to believe your grandfather hid assets under your name." "He did." "Yes, but not the amount they think." Nicole rubbed her face. "Travis exaggerated the inheritance years ago to buy himself time." "How much are we talking?" Silence. That scared me more than the answer. "Nicole." "Almost 2 million." I stared at her. My brother promised criminals $2 million he never actually had, and when Grandpa protected the money, they came looking for me. I laughed then, actually laughed, not because anything was funny, because trauma eventually overloads the system until your emotions stop making sense. Eleanor reached into her purse and handed me a burner phone. "There's one person left your grandfather trusted." "Who?" "A retired FBI agent named Daniel Cross." Of course there was a retired FBI agent. At this point, my life sounded like a Netflix series written by somebody on energy drinks. "Can he help us?" "He's already been helping." That's when the burner phone buzzed. Unknown number. Eleanor nodded toward it. "Answer." I did, slowly. Deep voice. Calm. "Ms. Monroe?" "Yes." "My name is Daniel Cross. Listen carefully because we don't have much time."
Rain hammered harder outside. "Your brother made a deal yesterday." Cold spread through my chest. "What kind of deal?" "He traded your location for debt forgiveness." I closed my eyes. Somehow hearing it still hurt, even after everything, even after the threats. Some small, stupid piece of me still wanted Travis to stop before becoming completely unforgivable. Too late. "He sold you out completely," Daniel continued. "Your mother knows." Pause. Then, "She encouraged it." That one landed differently. Not shock anymore, just grief finally finishing its work. I leaned my head against the cold window. Outside, the woods blurred under rain. Inside, the car nobody spoke. Because what exactly do you say after hearing your own mother approved your destruction? Daniel kept talking. "We've been building a case around Marlene Voss for years. Your grandfather quietly fed information through Eleanor." "What about Travis?" "He's involved deeper than you realize." Then came the sentence that changed everything again. "There's a witness willing to testify now." "Who?" "Your brother." I looked up fast. "What?" "He panicked after the cabin operation failed. He thinks Voss plans to eliminate him too." For the first time in days, a month later, federal arrests rolled through Baltimore like a storm. Marlene Voss, 3 associates, financial crimes, racketeering, extortion, illegal gambling operations. Turns out, Grandpa's hidden files helped crack multiple investigations open. Even dead, that man was still protecting people. My mother was arrested too. Accessory charges, fraud, conspiracy. Watching Denise Monroe walk into court in handcuffs felt unreal. No makeup, no perfect church smile, no performance left. Just an aging woman finally standing alone with the truth she spent decades outrunning. She looked at me once in the hallway before arraignment. "You did this." I looked back calmly. "No," I said. "You all did." Then something strange happened. She smiled. Tiny, broken. "You were always stronger than me." First honest thing she ever said to me. The trials dragged for months. News coverage, court filings, reporters, people who ignored me for years suddenly wanting interviews about resilience and family trauma like pain was some inspirational TED Talk. I turned them all down. Healing shouldn't have to perform. Travis cooperated fully with investigators. Reduced sentence, 8 years federal prison. My mother got 6. The day sentencing ended, I drove alone to Grandpa's cabin. Snow covered the trees this time. Quiet. Still. Safe. For the first time in forever, safe. I made coffee in Grandpa's old percolator and sat on the porch wrapped in his flannel blanket watching snow fall through the pines. And that's when it finally hit me. I survived. Not perfectly, not cleanly, but completely. The little girl locked outside in the snow survived. The teenager begging people to love her correctly survived. The woman hunted by her own family over money and lies and generational damage survived. I cried harder that afternoon than I had during the arrests, because survival finally felt real enough to grieve. A year later, I sold my Chicago apartment and turned Grandpa's cabin property into something new. Monroe House, a retreat program for young adults leaving abusive homes. Not therapy exactly, not charity either. Just space, safe space. Cabins, mentorship, career help, emergency housing. A door people could walk through when nowhere else felt safe anymore. The first resident was a 19-year-old girl named Sadie who arrived carrying all of her belongings in 2 trash bags. That almost destroyed me, because suddenly I was staring at myself again. Different year, same heartbreak. She stood awkwardly near the porch and asked, "So, how long can I stay?" And I heard Grandpa's voice, clear as day, in my memory. "You're not hard to love, kiddo." I smiled at her. "As long as it takes."
Last winter, Travis sent me a letter from prison. 5 pages. No excuses, no manipulation. Just accountability. I answered once. That's all. My mother still writes occasionally too. I don't respond. Not out of hatred, out of peace. There's a difference. People think healing means reopening doors. Sometimes healing means finally learning why they needed closing. 3 weeks ago, I found something while cleaning Grandpa's workshop, hidden inside an old tackle box. One photograph. Me, at age 9, asleep on the cabin couch with a book on my chest. Grandpa sitting nearby pretending to read while actually watching me. On the back, he wrote, "She finally sleeps peacefully here." I broke down crying right there on the floor, because after everything, after courts and betrayals and fear and survival, that photo explained the entire story. He knew. He always knew. Not just what my family was, what it was doing to me. And he spent the rest of his life trying to build one safe corner of the world where I could rest without fear. That kind of love changes a person. If you're listening to this right now while sitting in a house that makes you feel unwanted, if you're constantly shrinking yourself just to keep peace with people who hurt you, if your family only loves the version of you they can control, hear me carefully. You are not difficult to love. Some people are simply incapable of loving without conditions. That is not your fault. And one more thing. Blood does not automatically deserve access to you. I know the internet hates hearing that, but survival taught me something brutal. Shared DNA means absolutely nothing without shared humanity. Sometimes strangers save you. Sometimes grandparents save you. Sometimes you save yourself. And sometimes the bravest thing you'll ever do is stop begging for love from people committed to misunderstanding you. Tonight, Monroe House is full. Somebody's playing music upstairs too loud. Somebody burnt grilled cheese in the kitchen. Sadie is helping a new resident fill out college applications at the dining table while snow falls outside the same cabin window Grandpa once looked through. The world kept going. So did I. And honestly, that's the real happy ending. Not revenge, not prison, not money. Peace. Quiet, ordinary peace. The kind nobody notices unless they once lived without it. I still keep Grandpa's photograph in my jacket pocket sometimes, especially on hard days. Especially when old memories creep in around 2 a.m. And every single time I look at it, I remember something that took me almost 30 years to believe. I was never the problem. Thank you for staying until the end of this story. If this touched something real inside you, share it with somebody who needs the reminder that surviving toxic love is still survival. And if you've ever had to build a family instead of being born into one, tell me about them in the comments. I read every single one. And somehow, hearing your stories makes the world feel a little less lonely.